Welcome to Industrial Organizational Psychology. For this lesson, we're going to talk about lesson number 3, legal issues in employee selection with legal issues in Philippine setting. And still, I'm your lecturer, Angela M. de Monteverde. Why do we need to address the issue in legal issues in Philippine setting? It's because of since the book or the reference is created from federal law or from the United States, we need to include also what are the legal issues that we need to face here in the Philippines. Okay, so for the overview, we're going to tackle resolving the complaint internally. What are the common complaints, or what are the complaints, and what do we need to do if we encounter this kind of complaints inside of the company or organization? Filing a discrimination charge. What are the fines for um, the discrimination? Also, outcomes of EEOC investigation. We're going to tackle also if this is applicable here in Philippines. Legal processes, harassment, what the company needs to do or the HR needs to do if we encounter harassment. What are the common privacy issues that we need to protect for the employee? Other considerations in the Philippine as well setting, since that the reference is from United States, and we need to add some information here in the Philippines also. Session goals and objective would be at the end of this session, you should be able to understand the legal process involving employment law, know what classes of people are protected by federal law, be able to determine the legality of the employment practice, understand the concept of adverse impact, understand affirmative action, know the important issues involving employee privacy rights. All right. For topic 1, legal issues in employment selections. Okay. What are the things that we need to abide? What are the things that or legal issues that we need to face? For this one, we have legal issues in employee selection. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, or EEOC, is a branch of Department of Labor charged to investigate and prosecute complaints of employment discriminations. Okay, for this one, since that this is in federal law, if we have DOLE here in the Philippines, we also have EEOC in the United States. Okay, they are the ones who is in charge for the labor charge and investigate the complaints from the employment discrimination. Okay, and they have grievance systems. It is the process in which an employee files a complaint with the organization, and the person or committee within the organization make a decision regarding the complaint. Okay, this is where the employee file complaint. And here in the Philippines, we have here Bureau of Local Employment. It is the bureau under the Department of Labor and Employment, which aims to improve the local labor and employment situation in the Philippines. They're the ones who implementing the rules, what are the sanctions, and what are the things that they need to be observed inside of the company. Okay, for this DOLE, and as an HR practitioner, they will inspect the company. If this company is following the rules that they assigned or that they given, the company needs, the DOLE needs to visit each companies. Okay, so that will be a surprise visit. There is no time or a specific time for them to visit the company. Minsan pupunta na lang yan and then mag-inspect if they're following the guidelines from the DOLE. Okay, and also they're the ones that the employee needs to complain for if they have discrepancies or other issues with their company. Its mission to promote full employment by facilitating access of Filipino job seekers to local employment opportunities through policy researches, standard setting, strategy development, labor market analysis, and provision of technical assistance to regional implementers in support of employment service of operations. Okay, and as I mentioned earlier, they're the ones who cater um, issues in regards to legal. Okay, they're the ones who sumbungan ng bayan. Okay, in regards to that, they're also wants to cater employees who are going to abroad. If that company, certain company is registered from Dole or no. If that company is registered from Dole, meaning to say that this company is following the guidelines from Dole. And for legal process, we have mediation. It is a method of resolving conflicts in which a neutral third party is asked to help the two parties reach an agreement. Meaning to say, sila yung pumapagitna within the organization and also within the employee. There's a complaint. If hindi kayang solusyonan, ito ay pupunta or idadalhin ang kaso or the legal issues sa arbitration. Alright, dadalhin sa EOOC and ilalagay ni EOC sa arbitration. Okay? Or dadalhin sa arbitration at dadalhin ngayon sa EEOC. Okay? Next would be binding arbitration. For this one, kung hindi na solusyonan si arbitration after ng mediation, dadalhin ngayon si binding arbitration. Okay? What is binding arbitration? Will ask the third party to choose which side is correct, but in which either party is allowed may appeal the decision. Meaning to say, for this one, if hindi pa rin na-resolve si conflict, dadalhin ngayon sa binding arbitration and they're the ones who will which side is correct. Sila ngayon yung magdidesisyon kung mananalo ba or sino mas tama, si company ba or yung employee. If ganun po siya, si binding arbitration. Next would be non-binding arbitration. Will ask the third party to choose which side is correct, but in which either party may appeal the decision. Okay, so sino mas tama? Tatanungin ngayon sa non-binding arbitration sa third party kung sino ang mas tama sa dalawang, si company ba and then sa employee, and also sino ang pwedeng mag-appeal pa. Okay, sino ang pwedeng humirit pa para sa decision na yun. And also, we have case law. For this one, we need to this determining whether the employment decision is legal. Okay? Kung tama ba naging decision, legal ba yung decision na yun or legal ba yung kinaharap? Itong si case list, it is the interpretation of law by court through verdict in a trial setting precedent for subsequent court decision. Okay, so kung hindi naayos kay Grievance, hindi umayos kay arbitration, hindi nagkasundo si non-binding arbitration, tsaka si binding arbitration, dadal ngayon sa mas mataas. Okay, we have case law. Kung saan magkakaroon na dito ng verdict in trials. Okay, so magkakaroon siya dito ng parang session kung sino ang parang papatunayan kung sino ang papanigan, si employee ba or si employer. Next would be protected class. For this one, protected class is any group of people for whom protective legislation has been passed. Halimbawa is sino yung mga sa protected class is a group of people. Kumbaga dito here in the Philippines is that ito yung parang union na nagpoprotekta sa isang empleyado. Okay, since that not all of these we have here in the Philippines is that this is federal law. Age Discrimination Employment Act or ADEA forbids discrimination against an individual who is over the age of 40. They also have in federal that um, nagpoprotekta sa mga employer na discriminate if um, the individual ay lagpas na sa 40. There are some companies kasi na pag once we say 40, they try to reject that one. And for that one, they need to follow the Age Discrimination Employment Act or ADEA. Okay. We also have Vocational Rehabilitation Act of 1973, and it prohibits discrimination against the physically and mentally handicapped. This act is for to protect also yung mga taong may physical and mentally struggle. Okay? They do not need to reject these people because they have act for this one to protect those people para makapagtrabaho pa rin kahit may mentally and disability handicap sila. Next would be race. On the basis of the Civil Rights Acts of 1866 to 1964 and 1991, as well as the 5th and 14th Amendments of U.S. Constitution, it is illegal to discriminate against a person. Okay? If you are not an American and you are Asian and you would like to work abroad, they have act that discriminate people. Okay? Next would be after race, we have color. Okay? Color is protected by Civil Rights Act. Acts is color, though commonly used as synonym for race. The reference to color protects individual against discrimination based specifically on variations in skin color. So, meaning to say, regardless if you're black or white, okay, para maprotektahan at makakuha ka ng job, they conducted or there is an amendment to protect those color. Usually, race din siya. Synonym siya ng race. However, dito is variation of color naman yung pinaprotektahan nila. Okay? Para kahit na regardless if you're black or white and makahanap ka pa rin ng work in US. Apart from that, we have sex. On the Civil Rights Act as well as Equal Pay Act of 1963 prohibits discrimination based on sex. Okay? Because before, pag sinabing male, and sa previous lessons, pag sinabing male ka, since that you are male and mas kaya mo daw gawin kung ano yung mga bagay na nakakapagbuhat ka and mas malaki ang potential mo to work on, okay, mas madami ka magagawa, and si female ay nalilimitahan, they conducted also civil rights acts for that one. Para equal lang si male and si female. Next would be national origin. It's protected under Civil Rights Acts. Note that Hispanics are protected under national origin, not race. Claims of discrimination based on national origin have increased greatly over the past few years. One of the most common complaints is about English only or understandable English speaking requirements. For this one, since yung mga Hispanic and other employee na nanggaling na hindi marunong magsalita ng English, okay? There are times kasi na kailangan kahit hindi na sila nag-work, halimbawa they're on breaks at kailangan nila makipag-usap sa kung sinong tao nilang gusto. Example, with dalawang Hispanic yan and nag-Spanish yan during break, okay? So, pwede nilang gawin yun, okay? Okay lang kahit hindi sila mag-English if it is beyond na sa working hours nila. So, may ganun din silang batas. Kasi, bakit? It's because of harassment na yung nangyayari. Kapag naka-break time ka, tapos still their manager requiring to speak English. Okay? We also have religion. It is illegal to use an individual's religion as a factor in an employment decision unless the nature of a job is religious. The Civil Rights Act also requires organizations to make accommodations for religious beliefs unless to do so would be an undue hardship. Okay? For this one, if the type of employment is not related to religion, hindi man ito malaki nakaka-apekto, okay? They need to hire that people. Okay, wala dapat discrimination in regards to religion. And also, even though that regardless if you're Catholic, non-Catholic, or other religion, and you must be protected as well. And a number 10, 9, 11, 2016, an act prohibiting discrimination against any individual in employment or account of age and providing penalties therefore, or the Anti-Age Discrimination in Employment Act. For this one, it is an act wherein paparusahan o bibigyan ng penalties ang mga tao na nagdi-discriminate against individual employment or account of age. Okay? Na kapag hindi ka sumunod sa batas, kailangan mong magmulta. Number 10, 9, 11, 2016, an act prohibiting discrimination against any individual in employment or account of age. Next would be, we have an act prohibiting discrimination against any individual in employment or account of age and providing penalties. Therefore, we have disability. This is a discrimination against people with disabilities by federal government is forbidden by a Vocational Rehabilitation Act of 1973, and discrimination against disabled by any other employer with 15 or more employees is forbidden by Americans with Disabilities Act or ADA. Okay? This is an act na kung saan pinagbabawal sa Vocational Rehabilitation Act, pinagbabawal na hindi ka mag-hire or i-discriminate mo yung mga tao na yon. Okay? At meron din silang ADA na kung saan nakalagay dito na and discrimination against the disabled by any other employer with 15 or more employees is forbidden by Americans and Disability Act or ADA. Ito yung sinusunod nila in federal. Here in the Philippines, we have your Republic Act 10524, an act expanding the position reserved for persons with disabilities, amending for the purpose. And we also have Republic Act 7277 as amendment, otherwise known as Magna Carta for person with disability. Okay, for this Magna Carta for person with disability, this is an act also to protect yung mga tao na yon. Okay, example, if you are person with Down syndrome, okay, hindi pwedeng hindi ka nila i-hire because of your disability. Okay? Because of your conditions. These are the two acts who protect to these people. And for the other acts, here in the Philippines, we're going to talk about that to the next slides, to the other slides rather. We also have Republic Act number 10524, an act expanding the position reserved for person with disability, amending for the purpose Republic Act number 7277 as amendment, otherwise known as Magna Carta with disability, as I mentioned earlier. Ito yung mga act na hindi ka pwede mag-decline. Okay? Hindi mo kailangan i-discriminate yung taong may capable pa mag-work even though they have disability. Okay, as long as they can serve and they have this kind of things na makapag-work sila, and you do not need to discriminate these people. We also have BFOQ, or the Bonafide Occupational Qualification. It is a selection requirement that is necessary for the performance of a job-related duties and for which there is no substitute. This is a federal act na kung saan Halimbawa, hindi kita i-hire because you are female, hindi mo kaya yung ganito. Okay? Kung kaya naman ni employee gawin ang ginagawa ni male, halimbawa siya ay female, the company should not to discriminate the person. Okay? They have this bona fide occupational qualification. What are the qualifications? Halimbawa, kung ang kinakailangan nila is malakas na lalaki na marunong magbuhat, and if this female can do that one as well, so meaning qualified siya sa BFOQ, okay? This is the occupational qualification. Kung pasok siya doon sa hinahanap nila regardless of your sex, edi kailangan hindi ka nila discriminate, tanggapin ka nila, and hindi ka nila maltreated. Adverse impact. It is an employment practice that results in members of a protected class being negatively affected at a higher rate than members of the majority class. Adverse impact is usually determined by the 4th to 5th rule. Okay, for this one, halimbawa ay may nag-apply na 15 males and then may nag-apply na 10 males. Kukunin natin yung 4th rule is yung at least 40%. Example would be mass hiring yan, okay? And then hindi natin dapat piliin na lalaki lang, okay? If we hire 50%, the 40% must be female also, okay? So, para, not malimitahan, pero para mabigyan din ng chance yung mga female. So, sa ibang bansa, regardless if you're a male or regardless of you're male or female, as long as you can do the task well, you should be hired. And pasok ka sa qualification. That is the adverse impact or the 4th, 5th rule. 40%, from 50% of the hiring, halimbawa, is 50, they need to accept an applicant at least 40%, female naman. That's what 4th, 5th rule means. We also have job-related. It is the extent to which a test or measure taps knowledge, skills, ability, behavior, and other characteristics needed to successfully perform job. Okay, natatakal na natin to kanina. The case-how. Okay? Kailangan yung a-apply yan, and also yung since that this is legal issues employee selection, dapat may knowledge, skills, ability, and other characteristic yung tao. Okay? Related dapat yung case-how mo para makapag-perform ka ng job. Next would be topic number 2 is harassment. For this one, harassment is not an issue limited to the United States. Okay? So, hindi lang ito pang United States. Everywhere, nakakaranas ang isang empleyado ng harassment. Maaring sa employer or kapwa niya employee. Okay? Though the United States has taken the lead preventing the punishing harassment in Canada, the United Kingdom, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, and the European Union also have laws prohibiting sexual harassment. Okay? And we have here the types of harassments. Quid pro quo is a type of sexual harassment in which the granting sexual behavior is tied to an employment decision as promotion and salary increase. Halimbawa, quid pro quo ang tawag sa mag-offer si employer mas mataas para promote kita, istataas ang sahod mo, sumama sa akin, and so on. Okay, that's part of harassment. And kapag ginawa yun ng employee or ng halimbawa si supervisor, inalok niya ang kanyang tauhan na sama ka sa akin sa bahay, doon ka matulog, okay, liable din, since that this is in line sa quid pro quo, liable din doon si employer. Okay, not just by the supervisor lang. Liable din dapat dun si employer. Since na nagkakilala sila dun sa workplace and may nangyaring ganon, dapat si employer is gagawa siya ng paraan para masolusyonan yon, or ano dapat yung mga sanction, kung may sanction ba na kailangan ibigay. Okay, we also have hostile environment is characterized by a pattern of unwanted conduct related to gender that interferes with an individual's work performance, displaying or demeaning posters, signs, and or cartoons. For this one, maaari magtanong kayo sa isip nyo, baka perception na to, ay, since that the harassment is the perception of a male is different from women. Baka mamaya sa women, harassment na yon, and then sa male is hindi naman harassment yon. For this type of harassment, hostile environment, ang magde-decide neto kung tama ba na harassment or hindi is the court in federal. We also have pattern of behavior. For conduct to be considered sexual harassment based on a hostile environment, the U.S. Supreme Court has ruled that the conduct must be pattern of behavior rather than an isolated incident. Calling babe or honey not stupid. What does it mean? Okay, okay lang na mag-ask ka ng date. Okay, sa pattern behavior, okay lang mag-ask ka ng date sa isang employee. And ang pattern behavior is that kung paulit-ulit mo ginagawa ang pattern behavior na yan at ayaw naman sa'yo ng ka-workmate mo, that is the time that it is called harassment because there is a pattern of behavior. Example would be calling babe or honey. Okay, not stupid. Okay? Or nor stupid. Why is that? It's because of ayaw nga ng tao. Okay? Ayaw ng co-workmate na tawagin mo siyang gano'n because she doesn't want or she doesn't like you or he doesn't like you. If this person of your if this co-workmate of yours keeps on trying to call you babe, honey, and other things, that will be an harassment already. Negative to the reasonable person. Any pattern of behavior based on gender that causes an employee discomfort might constitute sexual harassment. Example, let's go to the Holiday Inn and negotiate your race. Or, and you're just a dumb-ass woman, constitute harassment even though the female employee did not suffer any great psychological damage or have a nervous breakdown. Okay? For this one, kahit na walang breakdown, psychological damage, if you feel discomfort dun sa ginagawa sa iyo ng isang tao, halimbawa, inaya ka niyo makapag-date and para sa iyo it's quite, nagbibigay siya sa iyo ng discomfort, and that is one of the type of harassment na already in federal law. We also have organizational liability for sexual harassment. In case of quid pro quo harassment of its employees, an organization will always be liable. As I mentioned earlier, kung may ginawa si isang employee sa isang employee o sa co-workmate niya, liable doon ang company. Okay? Ang organization doon. So, meaning to say, ang kailangan siya solusyonan yun. Hindi niya kayang hayaan na pagpasa walang bahala, and kung magsumbong man sa employee, dapat sinusolusyonan yun. That is in federal law. And also, applicable din naman yun here in the Philippines. Okay? May mga sinusunod din naman tayo mga batas. Preventing sexual harassment. To avoid liability, the organization must have a well-conceived policy regarding sexual harassment. Must have communicated that policy to its employees. Okay? So, kailangan, para ma-avoid mo yung liability natin ni employee, if you are the HR or if you are part of the organization and you are conducting rules and regulations, dapat you are giving them an information. Binibigyan mo sila ng information na do's and don'ts. Okay? In layman's terms, that's do's and don'ts. Or what are the policies that they need to abide. Preventing sexual harassment behavior. If an employee complains of sexual harassment, it is essential that the organization investigate the complaint quickly and then promptly take any necessary action to rectify the situation and punish the offender to reduce the organization's liability for sexual harassment. Okay, so for this one, para ma-avoid or ma-prevent, we should give punishment for the person. What are the punishments if they conduct this one, and so on. Okay, it's like bylaws. In Philippines, Republic Act 7877, Section Antisexual Harassment Act of 1995, it is an act declaring sexual harassment unlawful in the employment, education, or training environment, and for the other purposes. We also have here Antisexual Harassment Act of 1995. Ito yung batas na kung saan kapag nagpo-protect sa training, sa employment, environment, and sa iba pa. Basta may harassment within the organization, you can file this one. Okay, now topic number 3, what is affirmative action? Affirmative action, it is one of the most misunderstood legal concept concerning to employment, meaning to say, this is the one that they need to abide. Okay? Minsan kasi isang organization, since that this affirmative action is in federal law, they need to abide the legal concept. Kaya this is one of the most misunderstood legal concept concerning to employment. Ano ba yung mga guidelines that they need to be followed for? What's the affirmative action for that? Okay? And we have here strategies. Reasons for affirmative action plans, okay? Halimbawa, dito sa affirmative action would be, paano natin mababawasan yung physical activities. Okay? So, dapat itong si employer, para, kunyari, may certain job, okay? May certain job na panglalaki, or usually let's call it panglalaki. Okay, it's more about exercises and physical activities. Para mabawasan yun, maaari siguro na si employer ay mag-conduct ng exercise program para hindi natin na-discriminate yung mga babae also. And then they can work the same task with males. That is one of the strategies ng affirmative. Okay? How do we affirm the action? What are the solutions that we need to conduct for? Also, for this one, we can have sa affirmative action, kailangan dito is that what are these strategies or techniques na para hindi ma-discourage yung isang minority to apply to an organization, or hindi siya dapat ma-promote because it might be she is a minority, inaalis dapat ni company yun. Okay? Na equal rights dapat based dun sa federal law in United States. Okay, so kung tulad nga sabi ko, kung ang certain task ay nangangailangan ng pagbubuhat, maybe this company could provide exercise to the employee so that the female also can work physically. Okay, what are the things na kailangan nilang magawa para mabawasan yung discrimination? Halimbawa, kung lalaki lang nakagawa nun, syempre dapat meron din sila physical activities para magawa din ng babae yun. So, kung may exercise ang kinakonduct sa isang company, or dapat yung mag-conduct ng isang company para both male and female nagagawa yung certain task. Okay, we did not have this one here in the Philippines. We have here work-life balance and other exercises, but we might see if we can tackle this one to the next lessons. Reasons for affirmative action plans in voluntary government regulation. These mandatory affirmative action plans typically involve analysis of all major job categories and indicate which categories have underrepresentations of protected classes as well as goals and plans for overcoming such underrepresentations. For this one, dapat dapat magbigay ang isang company ng income, okay? Or in the Philippines, sabihin natin income, okay? Kung meron silang 50 employees pataas, ibinibigay nila yung kita nila doon sa government. Okay, and then, kung sa atin ay BIR, okay, that's government regulations. Involuntary court order, when a court finds a public agency such as police or fire department guilty of not hiring or promoting enough members of protected class, it can order the agency to begin an affirmative action program. Okay, mandated by the court order na kailangan for promotion, meron tayong specific promotion goals. Okay? Hindi dapat kung sino lang yung dependability natin, kung sino lang yung initiative natin is yun na dapat i-promote. Dapat meron tayong specific promotion goals sa isang company. In the United States, it's a federal law sa kanila. We also have voluntary or consent decree. If a discrimination complaint has been filed with a court, a public agency can voluntarily agree to an affirmative action plan rather than have a plan forced on it by the court. With a consent decree, the agency agrees that it has not hired or promoted enough members of protected class and is willing to make changes. Meaning to say, for this one, kung napatunayan na may discrimination or complaint or nakaresolve ng complaint ang isang agency and then na-file dito sa court, kailangan sumunod ni employers dito. Okay? And kailangan niyang sabihin that they are willing to change. Okay? Kung ano man yung discrimination na gawa nila sa isang empleyado or na administer or regulation na hindi nila na-apply. Yun sa voluntary consent decree. Okay? We have voluntary desire to be good citizen. Rather than wait for the discrimination complaint, some organizations develop affirmative action programs out of desire to be good citizen. That is, they want to voluntarily ensure that their employment practices are fair to all groups of people. Okay? Desire to be good citizen. Simple as that. Meaning to say, kailangan, if you wanted to become a good law-abiding citizen, okay, you should voluntarily that one. Apply to all groups, not for the specific. You don't have to be racist or apply discrimination. You do not have to be na mag-discriminate pa ng tao. You yourself should, if you are part of the company, na mag-volunteer ka na ayusin mo. And fair dapat ang ginagawa sa isang company. We have consequences. Affirmative action programs are important tool in ensuring equal opportunity. They can result in some negative consequences for people hired or promoted as results of affirmative action. Meaning to say, for this one, dapat equal ang isang company. Magkaroon siya ng affirmative action plans, okay? Or programs na kung saan walang equal yung rights ng bawat isa. Fair, regardless of kung sino ang i-hire nila, sino ang mapopromote, regardless of gender, sex, and they can magre-result na negative consequences. Okay? Kasi nga, si company, dapat liable siya sa mga ganong bagay. Okay? This is for federal law, and we also have here in the Philippines as well. Privacy issue. Unemployment practice. For privacy issue, unemployment practice is illegal if it results in adverse impact and it's not job related. Unemployment practice can also be illegal if it unnecessarily violates the individual's right to privacy. Okay, so in regards to that, dapat pinoprotektahan din ang employee. Okay, ganun siya. Here in the Philippines, we have Data Privacy Act of 2012, Republic Act 10173. Okay, for this one, sa Privacy Act, hindi mo dapat ilabas ang 201 files. When we say 201 file, these are the records or documents na kung saan merong 201 files. Okay? That's why it's called 201 files. Dapat yung isang folder na yun, laman niya ay 201 files. That's why it's called 201 files. Again, for that one, dapat example of that is dapat walang access si other employees na nag-work sa HR. Walang access ang ibang employees. Dapat only HR and then yung mga liable employees lang nakakita nun, which is usually HR naman talaga, okay? Dapat sa HR pangalagaan yung mga mandated benefits, okay? Yung POR, transfer of records, and other information or documents. Government documents, regardless with government documents or private documents ng employee. So, dapat pangalagaan because we have Data Privacy Act. Okay, hindi dapat ibinibigay yung yung other informations like SSS number, hindi dapat ipinapakalat sa lahat, and in line to that, kung may sakit si employee, hindi dapat sabihin sa iba. Kung hindi, pwede siya makasuhan ng Data Privacy Act. We also have other consideration in Philippine settings. Okay, we tackle the Privacy Act, the Republic Act. We have here also for what are the consideration in Philippine setting. We have here Department of Labor and Employment or Occupational Safety and Health Center. Okay, for Department of Labors, this is an organization na kung saan sumusunod ang isang employer, okay, sa mga rules and regulations nila. Okay, sometimes it has surprise visit sa isang company. And then, this company needs to abide what are the guidelines from DOLE. Okay? Regardless if it's pay, regardless if it's regarding on promotion, regardless if it's regarding on keeping the 201 files. Once this DOLE visited the company needs to be aware, needs to be keen to everything. Dapat nasusunod yun. Okay? And we also have occupational health and safety. Halimbawa, nag-work ka sa isang or the company is for construction. Okay? Construction environment or mga may risk. Even yung may risk. Dapat sumusunod siya sa safety procedures. Ano dapat ang suot ng isang construction worker, meron ba siya, ano yung mga gears na kailangan nila na suotin. Also, pasok sa occupational health and safety, kung paano ba dapat ang tamang pagbukas ng pinto, outward ba yan? Inward ba yan? Okay? So, pinag-aaralan din or dapat inline yung company environment sa occupational health and safety. Also, inline din dapat yan sa paano yung proper position ng table. Okay? Para maiwasan natin yung, inline din also dyan yung fire extinguisher. Kailangan meron tayong fire extinguisher and other electrical wires kung saan maiwasan natin yung sunog, maiwasan natin yung mga incidents. Okay? Sila yung nag-i-inspect. And also, we, as HR professional, dapat inline ang mga rules mo to these organizations. DOLE, OSH. Yeah, same as that. As I mentioned, as I am saying earlier, okay, kung Occupational Safety Undergraduate Certificate, for this one, pwede ka makakuha. If you would like to be an occupational safety, magkaroon ka ng ganun as an HR, pwede ka kumuha ng certificate, attend the seminar, and so on. We have first aid kit. Okay, we have fire action. We also have that thing. Lahat yung tinuturo. And then si company, meron siyang parang department ako saan nag-i-implement ng safety. S5 minsan ang tawag sa ganun, and different companies iba't-iba sila ang tawag. Safety first. Also DOH. Okay? So dapat like DOLE, okay? Like safety na meron silang brochure or postings ng mga fire extinguisher and other things. We can coordinate with DOLE also. May mga leaflets sila na ibinibigay sa isang company. Halimbawa, leptospirosis, kung tag-ulan, ano yung mga bulletins or poster na pwede natin makuha sa kanila. Pwede kang pumunta dyan. Tapos, sa pakilala ka na that you are HR or part of a company. Once you get in, pwede ka kumuha ng mga brochures, posters, and so on. Okay? So, dapat you must follow din yan so that once si Dole mag-inspect, may papakita mo that you are following the guidelines. Okay? And also, stop smoking, those posters. Okay? And cancer-free, yung mga ganong posters. Yun, doon mo siya makukuha. Pupunta ka kay Dole and to get those posters. By the way, ORSH and DOH, those kind of posters are free. Dole Order number 102-10 and Basic Facts on Republic Act number 8504, the Philippine AIDS Prevention and Guidelines Control Act of 1998 series of the 2010 guidelines for the implementation of HIV and AIDS prevention and control in the workplace program. Meaning to say, regardless if you are HIV positive, if you get AIDS, okay, there is a Republic Act na to protect these people. Hindi dapat sila discriminate. Okay? Ayun siya. And then, also, I'll be giving you some insights if you have know someone who is positive and then meron silang parang psychological disability, ay psychosocial disability. Doon, nilalagay yun ni Dole sa PWD card or the person with disability to hide the information of your sakit. It might be you get cancer before, psychological disability also kapag nakalagay doon. Maybe you are HIV positive, maybe you are has an illness, okay? To protect an employee also, okay? Para sa kapakanan nila. And then those kind of things, hindi dinidisclose. Nilalagay social disability, psychosocial disability. Okay, ni Dole. I mean, ni DOH. Yeah. Okay. And, ayun nga, as I'm saying earlier, dapat sumusunod din si company doon for discrimination. Dapat hindi siya nagdi-discriminate rather ang isang company kasi merong batas para sa AIDS prevention. To strengthen the workplace response, implementing the provision Republic 8504, otherwise known as the Philippine AIDS Prevention and Control Act 1998, and AIDS implementing rules and regulations, and the DOLE National Workplace Policy in collaboration with the Interagency Committee, IAC, on STD, HIV, AIDS in the workplace, the following guidelines are issued to provide direction for employers, employees, and program implementers in the workplace. What is the proper handling of an employee if you encountered AIDS or HIV? Since that meron tayong batas sa Privacy Act na diniscuss kanina, this one naman is to strengthen pa that kind of act. Okay? So, if in case na si employee ay may HIV, hindi niya dineclare, we can see something sa baba ng isang employment that I hereby certify that all the informations are true and so on. Okay? Yung maliit na portion na yon dun sa upon hiring or upon signature ng job contract, nilalagay yun ni employer para kung hindi ka man dinisclose, pwede ka niyang tanggalin. Okay? Or kung ano man yung nakalagay doon. So, even though that DOLE is protecting you, DOLE is protecting you from that kind of discrimination, sometimes HR do that one also. Because they wanted you to be honest. What does the law says about a workplace? The law provides the discrimination of the people living with HIV/AIDS during pre-employment to post-employment based in actual, perceived, or suspected HIV status prohibited. This include hiring, promotion, assignment, termination of work. Hindi mo pwedeng um, hindi hire si employee dahil lang sa may sakit siya. And hindi mo pwedeng hindi i-promote si employee dahil sa may HIV siya. And also, hindi mo pwedeng siyang tanggalin sa um, emplo- sa isang organization dahil lang doon. Okay? And also, it strengthens yon. And pwedeng kasuhan si employer kung mapatunayan na ganun ang ginawa niya kay employee sa 8504. Article 7, Section 35. Other consideration also, we tackle the Privacy Act. Okay, dun sa mga 201 kanina, we're done with AIDS, and we're done with STD, HIV. Other consideration is HEPA A, HEPA B, and implementation of drug-free place in the Philippines. That is why we have here medicals. Okay, it's for us to implement also yung HEPA A, HEPA B. Tinitingnan din yan. If you got an HEPA A, HEPA B. Also, if you are in the use of drugs before, or if you're currently taking drugs, kailangan din siya. Okay? Para, and also, ini-strengthen din ni company itong, ni HR, itong company na to, or vice versa, na para mag-implement na dapat itong workplace na to is drug-free workplace. Okay, so that's all for the lesson number 3. And if you get a question, you may ask me through synchronous or asynchronous. And hope you learned something for these different legal issues in the Philippines and also in the United States. And I mean, in the federal law in the United States. And kindly send me an update if you have questions. Okay, you can reach me on Messenger as well. Thank you.